Karen HOA's sneer could curdle milk from a mile away. She stood like a self-appointed queen, her gaudy floral blouse straining against her frame, as she barked orders at the two meatheads she'd hired to block my family's moving truck. The audacity was almost laughable, but the sight of my wife, Sarah, clutching our daughter Lily's hand, their faces pale with worry, turned my amusement to cold fury. This wasn't just a power trip. It was personal. Karen, the HOA's self-proclaimed enforcer, had decided our move-out violated some obscure rule she'd probably invented on the spot. Her goons, hulking figures with more muscle than sense, leaned against our truck, smirking like they owned the street. Little did they know, I wasn't just some pushover neighbor. I was a decorated combat veteran with a knack for keeping receipts. The trouble started 3 weeks ago when we decided to move. After years in this cookie-cutter suburban hellhole, Sarah and I found a fixer-upper in the countryside, a place where Lily could run free without Karen's prying eyes or the HOA's endless fines for unapproved mailbox colors. Karen, however, took our departure as a personal insult. Maybe it was because I called her out at the last HOA meeting for trying to find Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly widow, for her overgrown rosebushes. Or maybe it was because I'd refused to bow to her petty tyranny. Either way, she'd been gunning for us ever since. And today was her grand performance. As I stepped out of the house, locking the door behind me, Karen's voice sliced through the evening air. "You can't leave until I say so," she bellowed, her chins wobbling with righteous indignation. "That truck's blocking the cul-de-sac, and you didn't file a move-out permit." I glanced at Sarah, who was shielding Lily behind her. My wife's eyes screamed for me to stay calm, but the fire in my chest was already burning. A move-out permit. The HOA handbook, which I'd memorized out of sheer spite, had no such rule. Karen was making it up, and her goons were her muscle to enforce it. I walked toward her, keeping my steps measured. "Karen," I said, my voice low but sharp, "there's no permit required. Step aside, or we've got a problem." Her lips curled into a smug grin, and she gestured to her hired help. "Oh, we've got a problem. All right. These gentlemen are here to ensure compliance." The taller goon, a bald guy with a neck tattoo, cracked his knuckles. The other, a squat man with a buzz cut, chuckled like he was auditioning for a B-movie villain. Lily whimpered, and that sound flipped a switch in me. I'd faced worse than these clowns in Fallujah. Karen had no idea who she was messing with. I pulled out my phone, already recording. "Let's get this straight," I said, loud enough for the camera to catch every word. "You're obstructing my family's lawful move. Karen, you've hired these guys to intimidate us. That's harassment, maybe even extortion." Her face twitched, but she doubled down. "You're the one breaking the rules." She spat. "This neighborhood has standards, and you've never respected them." Standards? This was the woman who'd fined a family for flying an American flag because it clashed with the aesthetic. The irony was thicker than her waistline. The goons shifted, clearly uncomfortable with the phone in my hand. I kept talking, my voice steady but laced with steel. "I've got every HOA email, every fine you've tried to slap on us, and every complaint you've ignored. Like the time you let your dog crap on my lawn and called it fertilizer. Or when you tried to tow Mrs. Jenkins' car for parking violations while she was in the hospital." Karen's eyes narrowed. But I wasn't done. "And I've got footage from my security cameras 2 weeks ago. You were snooping around our property at midnight. Care to explain that?" The crowd that had gathered, neighbors peeking from their porches, murmured. Karen's face flushed red. But she wasn't backing down. "You're lying," she screeched. "You're just a nobody trying to cause trouble." That's when Sarah stepped forward, her voice trembling but fierce. "A nobody? He's a Purple Heart recipient. Karen. He's served this country while you've been terrorizing this neighborhood." The goons exchanged glances, suddenly less sure of their paycheck. I could see the gears turning in their heads. Nobody wants to be the bad guy in a veteran's story. I held up my phone, zooming in on Karen's face. "This is going online," I said. "Every neighbor you've bullied, every fine you've abused, every lie you've told. And I've got the lawyer to back it up." That wasn't entirely true. Our lawyer was more of a family friend who handled wills, but Karen didn't know that. Her bravado cracked, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. "You wouldn't dare," she hissed, but her voice wavered. The taller goon muttered something to his partner, and they stepped back from the truck. "We're not getting paid enough for this," Buzzcut grumbled. Karen spun on them, her voice shrill. "You can't leave. I hired you." But they were already walking away, their tough guy act crumbling under the weight of public scrutiny. The neighbors' murmurs grew louder, and I caught snippets of agreement. "She's gone too far," someone whispered. "About time someone stood up to her," said another. Karen, now alone, tried to salvage her dignity. "This isn't over," she snapped, storming toward her house. But it was over. I uploaded the video to the neighborhood's private Facebook group that night, along with a detailed post listing every HOA violation Karen had committed, complete with screenshots of her emails and my security footage. By morning, it had over 100 shares. Neighbors started coming forward with their own stories: fines for kids' chalk drawings, threats over holiday decorations, even a rumor that Karen had pocketed HOA funds for her landscaping projects. The fallout was swift. The HOA board, pressured by the growing outrage, called an emergency meeting. Karen was stripped of her presidency, and an audit was ordered. Turns out, she'd been skimming dues to pay for her consultants, like the goons she'd hired to intimidate us. The police got involved when Mrs. Jenkins filed a formal complaint about Karen's harassment, and my video became key evidence. Last I heard, Karen was facing multiple lawsuits and had put her house up for sale. Couldn't happen to a nicer bully. As for us, we moved into our countryside home a week later. Lily's already claimed the backyard as her adventure zone, and Sarah's planting a garden without fear of HOA fines. I still check the old neighborhood's Facebook group sometimes, just to see the updates. Karen's name is a punchline now. Her reign of terror reduced to a cautionary tale. Standing up to her didn't just free use it, gave the whole neighborhood permission to fight back. Sometimes, all it takes is one voice, one phone, and a little evidence to topple a tyrant. The end.